All right, now that we have finished our final piece of our gumball machine, now it's time to assemble all the pieces. A common term used in 3D design technology is assembly, and the assembly is where you take all of the individual parts and pieces that you have made and put them together into the drawing of the final product. So, to do that, I'm going to head into my home screen here, and we will create a new simple template, feet and inches. Get rid of my Boy Scout. I'm going to go ahead and name it and save it now. We will call this 2 underscore gumball machine, one word, underscore your last name. And we're going to click OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that in my 7th grade folder. And I'm going to put it in the 7.6 folder. And we'll go ahead and create that. As you can see, it's now saved 2 underscore gumball machine underscore what should be your last name here. All right, so to get started on the actual assembly, we're going to go right up here to this file folder. We're going to click on that, and we're going to select Insert. I'm going to select Google Drive, and I'm going to navigate to where I had saved all of my pieces from before, which is in this folder right here, and I'm going to select the base. Go ahead and select that. At first it seems like nothing happens, but when you move your mouse, your base will appear attached to your cursor. So I'm going to take my cursor, take it right over to origin, and I'm going to drop it there. Then I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and you could see that I had not deleted my guidelines from before. Not a big deal, because I can delete them now. And of course, to do that, we're going to go over to our little display icon over here. It looks like a set of glasses. Click on that, select Delete All Guides, and all of the guides will go away. I'm going to go ahead and collapse that so that it's not in my way. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. I can orbit around, and there's the base that we drew a couple weeks ago. All right, now that I've drawn my base, or inserted my base actually, not drawn it, we drew it before. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. I'm going to take my guideline tool, or my tape measure tool, click on the edge, and I'm going to pull over 5/8 of an inch. So 5/8, and press return. And then from the top, I'm going to click on this top edge over here. And I'm going to move my mouse down. I'm going to move it right over to this edge, and eventually it's going to find the midpoint. Or, if you're more comfortable, you can type on the edge, come over, and you're going to be coming over 1 5/8 of an inch, and I click. And what I end up with is this intersection right here. And that's going to be important to begin the assembly. Okay, so we have our base and 2 new guidelines. To unhighlight the base, I can get the selection tool and just click away from it. So now what you have is this guide, these 2 new guidelines on the base, and that's why it was important that we got rid of the other guidelines. I'm going to go ahead and click Save, so make sure that we're saving as we go. And now I'm going to select my folder icon, and now I'm going to insert the side rail. So navigate to where I save that, 7th grade, teaching materials, gumball machine, SFS videos, and now I'm going to select my side rail, select. Kind of the same thing happens. It doesn't seem like anything happens until you move your mouse. And now there's your side rail. Okay, so I'm going to click and drop that right there. All right. Now, currently, that side rail is in the wrong direction. Not a big deal, though. Okay. Because ultimately, we're going to have two side rails. One that will line up here, and one that eventually we will line up over here. Okay. So, to do this, I'm going to click on the Control key, which again turns on the plus sign for the copy tool. And then I click on the base of the side rail. And I'm just going to kind of slide it over here, get it out of my way for a minute. Okay. So now what I have here is two side rails. I've got one here, and I got one here. All right. Now, using my selection tool, I'm going to select this side rail. I'm going to get my move tool. I'm going to hover on top of this side rail, and that is where you're going to get, again, those 4 red plus signs, in which I can click on one of those, spin this side rail around. All right. So I started on green axis here. I'm going to spin around back to green axis here. Okay. So basically, I'm rotating it 180 degrees. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to orbit so that I can see the bottom of the side rail and this area right here, where those 2 guidelines that we created were there. If this is in your way, just go ahead and kind of move it out of your way temporarily so that you can see these 2 guidelines, the intersection of those 2 guidelines, and you can see the bottom of your side rail, kind of the bottom of your side rail right here. Okay. So again, now using the move tool, and this is super important in assemblies. It's important in assemblies is when you're moving pieces that you need to fit together. All right, you need to grab them at very specific points, meaning that I'm not just going to randomly grab the side rail here and attempt to move it around. It just jumps all over the place when you do that. Okay. Instead, you have to grab it right here where it says midpoint of side rail 1, and you're going to find that right along as you kind of hover along the bottom here. It'll jump to this point that says midpoint of side rail 1. So what you're going to do now is click on that, and you're going to move it over here to the guideline that you created, and then we'll slide it over here till it says intersection. All right. And then we click again, and that drops it right there. And what that does is it centers the side rail on the base. Okay, so I'm going to show you that again. Using my move tool, I find the midpoint of the side rail, and I click. Don't click and hold, just click. And then I move it over to this intersection. I click there, and that drops it. Now when you orbit around, you can see that it's directly above that hole that we created. And when we build these for reals, okay, we're going to put a screw right up through that hole. That's going to go into this side rail, and that's what's going to hold it in place. Okay. This side rail is going to be located 4.5 inches away from this one. So I need to create a new guideline. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the guides that I have now. So I go into my display menu. I delete all guides. Go ahead and collapse that. I get my tape measure tool. Going to move into the bottom of this side rail. So I click, move away on red axis, and I'm going to go 4.5. So I typed in 4.5, and I press return. I should have a guide over here now. Okay. The second guide that I'm going to create is a guide that's based off an existing line. So right here, I have this line, the bottom of this base, or sorry, the bottom of this side rail. What I'm going to do here is simply double click that line. So if I double click that line, it creates a guide that comes straight off of that edge. Okay. And now over here, what I have are two guides, once again, with an intersection of those two guides. Okay. If you missed any of that, just simply rewind the video, watch again how I did that, and create these two guides. And now finally, to wrap this video up, we are going to get our move tool. We are going to grab this side rail at the corner. I want to get the end point or origin in side rail 1. So I'm getting this corner right here. I click it. Of course, that's with the move tool, so it allows me to start moving it. Put it right here on this line, slide it over. It's going to find the intersection, and I click and drop. And what I have now are my two side rails that are facing each other. Okay. Two side rails facing each other, 4.5 inches apart, and they are parallel with each other across this front guideline. Okay. So again, if you have trouble doing some of that, just simply rewind the video, watch closely again, try to listen to the words, try to watch the pictures, see how I did this, and then complete this part of the assembly or of the gumball machine. I'm going to come up here, I'm going to save this. And then what I would like you to do is attach that to this week's assignment and send me this sub-assembly so that I can give you some points for the first part of the assembly. Thank you.